Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of Hermitage, Strange Case Files on Nintendo Switch. Okay, next stage I think. I think we need to read. There's nothing on the bookshelf. Let's see what happens next. Night is falling. There is a warm and calming evening breeze, but it's hard for the three of them to relax right now. Nervousness lies in the air. Cecile stares at the narrow back entrance of the Sanjun building. It's an intimidating sight for sure, and one that makes it hard for her to gather the necessary courage. She still hasn't changed her outfit, a fact that could prove to be quite advantageous. People won't get suspicious of her too easily. Phoenix High students enjoy a good reputation, so even if she is out late, most people won't bat an eye. Appearances, along with the right arguments, can open many doors, something Cecile has learned from watching Scarlet, the master of trickery, work her magic. Sure, there's always a risk factor involved, but right now, Cecile and Neko probably have the safest roles to play. 30 minutes ago, Neko sabotaged the control network responsible for the water infrastructure. By causing a small power outage, she has effectively cut off the building's water supply for the time being. Within 5 minutes, an anxious and impatient complaint call was made inside the building. Neko easily intercepted it, transferred it to Cecile shortly after. Before long, fake maintenance workers were dispatched. Although the call could pass for a regular complaint about an outage, the person placing the call was audibly anxious. This is a golden opportunity. Let's just hope nothing unexpected comes up. Everything has been going according to plan up until now. Still, Cecile can't help but worry about the other's safety once they head inside as maintenance workers. Pantry Taste and all other floors up to the 4th floor are being supplied by the same water company. The pipes were customized and specifically adjusted over a period of 3 months. One of the demanded specifications struck me as particularly interesting. They required the drainage pipes to be sufficiently salt resistant, on the grounds that fish and other seafood produce wastewater with a really high salt content. A regular restaurant would not have that high of a demand on a daily basis, and even establishments 3 times their size wouldn't ask for this kind of drainage notification. It's the first time I've ever even heard of something like this. So the demand on the basis of seafood wastewater is just a cover, and they are required for other reasons. I've got an idea, one that we can use to safely enter the building under false pretenses. Neko's intel suggested that the corridors inside are extremely tight, with windows that are never opened. Thus, along with a lack of proper air conditioning, makes it a perfect spot for placing a device to generate smoke. Zack and Justin need to find a way to quickly get rid of, or at least lose, the people escorting them inside. Afterwards, they'll need to split up and set up the smoke devices that Neko prepared previously, strategically placing them in a way that will quickly fill the corridors with an overwhelming amount of smoke. Neko didn't accompany Cecile, having set herself up in an adjacent building instead to observe the footage from the camera Cecile planted in the surveillance room. This whole approach is similar to the one she and Justin had previously employed, and allows her to quickly alert everyone by phone should she spot any sudden changes on the cameras. Although it's good to plan in theory, it doesn't reduce the danger Zack and Justin might have to face. Here goes nothing. Cecile hides in the shadows and quietly recites a small prayer for the safety of her friends. That all you got? Seems unresponsive. Justin kicks the limp body lying in front of him casually. The waiter is lying on the ground, completely motionless. His face looks cramped and rigid, with strong, overly defined facial muscles swelling up underneath the skin. Him being unconscious makes it look even more bizarre. Justin can't help but think that it makes sense for such an ugly thing to hide themselves away in the shadows, far from the public's prying eyes. Something, or someone, has definitely changed these people. What exactly is going on here? Nobody with an ounce of entrepreneurial sense would hire someone like that as a waiter. That alone is proof enough that this guy can't always have looked like that. Now is not the right time to think about it, though. There are much more pressing matters at hand that need to be taken care of swiftly. The store manager sure has some effective drugs. Haven't seen anything work like that well before. I think it's some kind of tranquilizer laced with a small amount of lilac grass. It smells strongly of organic solvents. What do you guys usually use? Triazoline? Huh? What's that? I don't understand those farmer terms. I expected too much from you. My fault. That's sweet of you. Here, tie this up. Thanks. Zach faces Justin and shakes his sore arm. Handling somebody who weighs so much more than you isn't easy. Still, this is only the beginning of the mission. Justin looks at the device tied to Zach's waist as he pulls out one of his own from his pocket. It looks like a regular oxygen inhalation device, but the extra tubes haphazardly bound to it with duct tape and the strangely colored liquid inside don't exactly look inviting. There's no sugarcoating it. This thing is a dirty bomb, right down to the improvised fuse. Justin decides to tuck it away again and hide it until the time comes to actually use it. I built some awesome goodies for you. Pulling on the fuse will cause a reaction in the tubes, generating gas that'll fill up the bottles. The interaction, when they mix, will generate heat, a catalyst to speed up the process. It's genius work, trust me. As soon as the pressure reaches a certain level, the solution inside will begin to react and create massive amounts of smoke at a rate you can't even imagine. More than enough to keep the people inside from finding their way out. Also, as a little bonus by yours truly, the gas is tear-inducing. I remember hearing that those weirdos inside have huge eyes, so that should definitely help. So that should definitely come in handy. Is it that strong? How'd you come up with it? I guess it could be considered just a little overkill. I found the instructions on some shady foreign site. If the mixture is off even the tiniest bit, there'll be a pretty huge chemical explosion instead of just smoke. See, hearing stuff like that reminds me of why I always failed my chemistry classes. No sane person would ever think of handling something this dangerous. Sane? Of course, what I really meant to say was that it depends on the person, obviously. That's the textbook definition of a really bad save right there. Anyway, I'd never usually consider using something this dangerous, but the situation calls for it. Did you have to go through a lot of trouble to make them? No, at least not in comparison to what you're about to do. You're the ones facing the real trouble. Huh? Do you know why I made the store manager send Cecile away before giving those to you? If she knew what this was, she would have never agreed to any of this. It's highly volatile in the wrong hands. Say, for example, in those of hot-headed young idiots who lack self-control. Ouch, I have feelings too, you know. Anyway, although the amounts of smoke it produces is absolutely ridiculous, there's one major weakness. It doesn't emit smoke right from the get-go. There's a built-in timer. The first mixing reaction needs to be autonomously heated for 120 seconds to provide enough pressure. Any faster than that would result in the next thing being a straight-up explosion. But if it's too slow, the catalyst for the second reaction wouldn't be powerful enough. Before you pull the fuse, you've got nothing to worry about. Play volleyball with it for all I care, but as soon as you start mixing them together, avoid any bouncing, tossing, shaking, wobbling, whatever for 120 seconds, or you're going to have fireworks going off right in your face. Meaning we have to factor in 2 minutes before we want smoke out of the place. Sadly, there's no other way. Nothing else is as effective, and small enough for you to carry in covertly, so you'll have to work with it. I realize it might be difficult, but you'll have to find a way to protect it and hold out for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But suddenly it seems a lot longer to me than it should. I don't know, still better than 2 hours, so whatever. What's with the sudden optimism? It's weird. Well, nervousness is really the only thing that could mess things up for us. I've kind of learned my lesson these last 2 days, you know. Makes sense. Be sure to stay alert. Justin checks his surroundings and peeks through the door of the water room. The water room is the one place nobody would check. The corridor is empty and silent, no sign of life at all. Yo, Justy. I can't have you calling me that. That's reserved for girls and grandparents. What is it? Heart to heart, bro. Why do you do this? Why are you so hell-bent on getting involved? You and the others. Oh, screw it. It's none of my business. You want to talk about it, cool by me. It's not that. It's just hard to find the right words. The store manager told me about Cecile and what she went through, her torment and how she almost fell victim to an otherworldly, malicious creature. The things Cecile saw and experienced made it clear to her that more trouble would follow. She also seemed to care about you, so her involvement in this doesn't come as a surprise. That girl, even though I haven't seen her in 2 years. Damn, that's sweet. I'll leave that to you to figure out. I couldn't possibly understand how your mind works. Anyway, it's a similar case with Neko. She and the store manager share a lot of history, and from what I know, she's been through a lot. She knows the stakes. That's why she's so worried and wants to help. Sounds like heavy stuff, huh? I get why there's no time for details right now, but I'll have to ask the others about it once we're all back at the store again. they've had it rough. Try to save the others just as much as they're trying to save themselves. So what about you? Aren't you in the same boat as them? I am now, but you're right. I do have my own reasons that drives me. Personal ones that I wouldn't expect you to understand. Is that so? Zach's expression becomes uncertain. It's a bad idea to dwell on the topic any further, not right before such a crucial moment. Just know that right now, these guys are the best to have in your corner. I trust them with my life. So, do you want to do this, or wait around some more? Alright then, let's go. We've got a packed schedule tonight. We sure do. Let's make the best of it. Forcing himself not to look back, Justin pushes open the door alongside Zach and steps into the dark, quiet corridor. Darkness stretches out in front of him, with only a faint overhead light illuminating the hallway. Zach's mind flashes back to what happened yesterday. In crucial times like this, it's smart to try and suppress your own thoughts and fears as best as you can. Sadly, it's never that easy. Yo, Neko. Justin. The connection to Neko immediately cuts out upon entering the corridor. Way too foreboding for Zach's taste. There's no other way of establishing contact. Zach pinches himself to regain his focus and to rid himself of some of the worries that are plaguing him right now. Maybe there's someone or something waiting in the dark. Maybe there isn't. No matter what, being prepared is of the utmost importance. Zach knows exactly what he's doing and what he came here for. Click. Just like that, the door to that twisted maze of unknown horrors opens. Oh, really? As we move east? North? North? Am I going into the big room? Where am I going? The door is closed, but there's a small set of keys by the door handle. He inspects the room again. The interior has been restored, and all the furniture has been moved back to its original position, as if yesterday's fight never happened. Zach is frustrated, but at the same time he realizes that finding Fatty in this room might not actually have been a good thing. Zach takes the keychain by the door. The two keys are attached to the slightly rusty metal ring. You better take this along. It might come in handy. It doesn't seem right. Zach inserts the key he found, but it seems to get stuck about halfway through. It looks like this isn't the right key for this door. This doesn't seem right. Zach inserts the key he found, but it seems to get stuck halfway through. The key doesn't fit this door. Okay. Let's see if any other doors can be opened. Oh, that's right. I forget. This is the big room. This seems to be the right place. Zach inserts the key he found and opens the door. Justin is lucky enough not to have run into anybody along the way. He has spotted a few cameras while sneaking about, but luckily they are being controlled by a childish master hacker. By now, his trust in Neko has reached immeasurable heights. Almost too quiet here. A strange silence is covering his surroundings, and even the echo of his footsteps sounds unusually dull. Justin suspects that the entire floor is insulated, but he has no way of confirming that right now. In any case, the plan remains the same. Justin walks on and carefully runs his hand along the wall to maintain a sense of direction. It's locked? A key is stuck in the keyhole. Justin can't move the handle. He violently jerks the key back and forth a couple times. It doesn't seem to fit right. Looks like somebody got the wrong key, but why? Puzzled, Justin takes out the key and puts it in his pocket. There has to be a key that actually fits. It's locked? The door is absolutely massive, and Justin has never seen a keyhole shaped like that before. He tries to probe the lock with his wire, but he can't feel anything. As he takes a closer look at the keyhole, he can see a lot of dust gathered around it. He puts some on his fingers and analyzes it carefully. It's dust from wall plaster, like the one around this room. How come there's so much of it on the keyhole? There really shouldn't be. Since he's dealing with shady people, he realizes they might have something to hide. The key could be hidden in a nearby wall. Without the matching key, there's no way to open this door, no matter what. It's another wall. Huh? The wall sounds slightly different when you knock against it. Can I do anything with it? The walls seem to be made of a different material. Something's hidden here. Justin slides his hand along the wall and finds a slightly elevated rough edge. It's a relatively simple secret compartment underneath a piece of wood covered in wall plaster. And the shape of it is made to conceal larger objects. There's no such thing inside, though. Instead, there's a small key and an old notebook that, by the looks of it, must be pretty old. There isn't enough time to read it now. Justin takes the old notebook as well as the key with him. I should just move on and find the right one. How about this one? This seems to be the right one. The key from the hidden compartment fits perfectly. Justin pushes open the door and enters the room. Huh? There's another key in the cupboard. Justin takes out the key that he has in his pocket and compares the two shapes. They probably use the same lock cylinder configuration, but are clearly a different make. Time to go back and have a look. Seems to be the right one. The key from the hidden compartment fits perfectly. Justin pushes open the door and enters the room. After entering the room, Justin instantly notices how cramped and tight everything is. This room appears to be much smaller than the other one. Judging by the design, this one should be bigger. Wait, is it? As he expects, a small door is embedded in the wall on the eastern side of the room. Like the paint on the wall, it appears to be much newer than everything else around it. They've separated this room from the others, but why? Justin is mystified, but the investigation has to continue. He takes out the last key he hasn't used so far and slides it into the keyhole. Smooth as silk. Justin gently pushes open the door and heads further into the dark unknown. Another room with something going on inside, an unexpected turn of events. Justin is taken by surprise, but luck is on his side. There's only one person who is asleep by the door. Justin slowly and carefully sneaks up to him and immediately notices the unusually ugly and deformed face. The outline of his body looks off, with only bizarre, non-human contours visible in the dark. His features are distorted, with every facial muscle much more dominant than in a regular human. His eyes are bulging as if trying to escape their sockets. And upon closer inspection, Justin notices a pair of fish gills undulating beneath the man's ears. This hybrid of fish and man is somehow not as strange a sight as fantasy literature would have you believe. Quite on the contrary. The combination actually looks weirdly harmonious. How can that be? This revelation only unnerves Justin even more. Such crude, abnormal hybrids and combinations of things that aren't meant to be mixed can easily provoke fear, or make one aware of one's own physical inferiority. These feelings, however, pose no problem for Justin, who has learned from past experiences not to let something like that get to him. There's something similar on Zach's neck, and Justin can only hope that the white marks are really evidence that the change has been reversed without any further consequences. Justin reaches into his pocket and pulls out the tranquilizing mixture the store manager prepared for him. He holds it close to the dozing fisherman's nose and watches as the smoke slowly rises up and seeps into his nostrils. The snoring grows louder. The fisherman's breathing becomes deeper and more intense. His large body's need for air is immense. A law of nature, even his strange deformities won't change. Justin covertly walks up to the window and pulls open the curtain on one side. A residual ray of the setting sun shoots straight into his eyes, an unexpected and dizzying shock for his senses in an otherwise almost pitch-black environment. A soft breeze from the air vent above him blows through Justin's hair, unconsciously causing him to relax. Justin gives a quiet and relieved sigh, seeing as if luck is finally on his side for once. Shortly thereafter, he pulls out the smoke bomb and prepares it carefully. Whew, all right, that's done. Who are you? No crap. What Zach sees after opening the door makes him gasp and shudder for a moment. At first glance, it looks like an actual hospital. Countless beds are neatly arranged next to one another, with their white sheets shining particularly bright in the dim moonlight, making the whole thing even more creepy. IV bottles are dangling from the side of each bed. The liquid inside of them has a strange color, although barely visible in the dark. The sheets on the beds are bulging. It's not hard to imagine what's hidden underneath. The smell of salt lies in the air, and Zach's stomach churns at the realization of what the custom pipe modifications in the building were required for. Even though he's had it hard in life, he can't help but think that all these people lying here are so much more unfortunate than him. Zach quietly walks past the hospital beds, the heavy breathing of the patients audible all around him. Their skin has a sickly, moist sheen and almost seems to be dissolving. As the liquid drips and courses through the unconscious man's body, Zach starts panicking a little, bothered by the fact that he is witnessing right now, what he's witnessing right now are many lives about to end forever. He's reminded of Fatty. These people are clearly undergoing some sort of transformation, gradually being turned into something non-human. The crowded, tight space, in addition to the darkness, makes the rooms stretch out to what feels like infinite dimensions. He can't see where the room ends, and he can't stop thinking what life will be like for these people once the procedure is finished. Zach was confident that if Justin's endeavor turned out to be a success, he could sneak Fatty out of the building under the cover of the smoke. However, seeing all the people here and the sheer number of them, his optimism in the mission is shattered. Save one or all, proceed as planned, or face the unknown and all the consequences that come with it. It's hard for Zach to think about that. Either way, lives are at stake. To hell with it. If we go down together. Zach doesn't want any lives on his conscience, even a thought that drives him forward. A small-time thug who's not even sure how the hell he managed to survive himself so far. How could he possibly know how to reverse these transformations? If these people could be freed, where could they hide? Zach's mind is racing, and he isn't coming up with any answers. The one thing he knows is that once everything is covered in smoke and the firefighters arrive, he won't be leaving this place by himself, that's for sure. The tear gas effect of the smoke might cause problems later on, but ultimately it won't matter if the gang members are knocked out or discovered by the firefighters. Both outcomes will have the same result. There's no clear answer to this. Some things can be pulled off and some can't, even if you do your best. It's that simple. Zach inhales deeply and opens the window on one side. The cold wind dries the sweat covering his face. He's already convinced he'll regret his decision. A life of mistakes has taught him that, and he knows he's driving straight into the unknown, headed for an uncertain future. However, he is fully aware of what he's doing. Sorry guys, but this is me, and this is what I'm good at. Taking one last breath, he starts banging loudly against the door. Yo, everyone, wake the hell up! You hear me? Wake up! The real adventure is only just starting. Holy shit, what does that fool think he's doing? The sounds coming from above pull Justin up short. This isn't part of the plan. Justin can hear Zach shouting in the distance. They are right in the middle of the hornet's nest. What does he think he's doing drawing so much attention to himself? The only plausible explanation Justin can come up with is that Zach has finally lost his mind. Hey, what's up with him? He's blocked the east entrance with a hospital bed and is piling up boxes on the other side. Everyone's gotten up from their beds by now. Many have vanished and a few are helping Zach move things. He hasn't deployed the smoke bomb yet, but hell, I'm too far away to clearly make out what's going on. What is that idiot doing? Is he trying to make himself available for target practice or what? Although the decision is undoubtedly stupid, Justin is starting to understand Zach's reasons. With the corridors and passages through the building being as tight and narrow as they are, you have to make sure to keep the path clear in case of an evacuation. Sealing off and controlling an intersection means you can prevent people from escaping without a lot of effort. That being the case, it would be best for Zach to be the one in control. He could take care of all the bad guys and then safely get out once the smoke dissipates, which is why he needs to attract as much attention as possible. It's a surefire recipe for chaos, that much is clear. Saving so many people at once is only possible if the enemies are scattered and their positions disrupted. That's pretty typical for Zach. Nobody else at Hermitage would have ever come up with a plan that's this reckless, and even if, it would have been discarded quickly for being way too dangerous. All of this might even help Justin complete his task. With nobody there to interrupt him, smoke is already spreading throughout the room. Everything is working as intended, just as Neko promised. The sheer amount of smoke is a clear indication that something big is about to go down. If there ever was one last chance to abort and withdraw, this is it, but Justin has no intention of quitting. Neko, how many of them are out there? What can I expect? 3 guys and a couple of the big ugly ones, coming from downstairs on the west side. I can't tell you much more. I don't know what else is going on inside. Roger that. East it is, then. Hold it right there, smartass. Where do you think you're going? East is the other way. Yeah, I know. You guys are simply... You know what? I don't care. Whether you come out or not, I'm going to have Cecile call 911 eventually. There's no way around it. It's better to be caught alive than to be found dead. I know. It's fine. Justin shrugs upon realizing that Neko must have hung up, but he ventures further down into the shadow of the hallway. Alright, now to find a way to push on further. Zach wipes some sweat off his forehead. The situation is still under control, with the east entrance tightly blocked off. The heavy beds used as improvised blockades are holding up nicely under the pounding and pushing coming from the other side of the door. Amidst the knocking, occasional cusses and swears can be heard, but luckily it takes more than foul language to break through a barrier that is this robust. Zack only hears one voice beyond the door, so the other knocks and pushes might be coming from more of those hybrid creatures. They may or may not have been brainwashed, but that doesn't really matter at the moment. The only thing for certain is that they are posing a great threat. They can just keep at it. Even Zack has known from the very beginning that this one door probably won't be able to keep them out forever. Zack has some of the victims who have been experimented on to thank for how robust this impromptu barrier has turned out. Shortly after waking them up, they quickly help Zack erect the barrier, moving about the heavy hospital beds. They have been caught in an unfortunate predicament, but in this case, at least their physical superiority has come in handy, allowing things to be moved that Zack could never have pushed into place on his own. More and more of them are waking up every second, many rattled awake by their fellow companions. The smoke Justin has created below only accelerates the process. Even though only a fraction of it has made its way through the air vent so far, the smoke is causing many who just woke up to cover their mouths and wave their arms in an attempt to disperse it. Their moist skin seems to be particularly sensitive to the chemicals, as many of them can barely keep their eyes open and are breathing heavily, wheezing with discomfort. Even under such circumstances, these people are listening to Zack's orders and holding their positions, fiercely pushing to keep the door closed off. Zack is inspired by their will to survive and grateful for their assistance, yet he can't help but notice that his pal Fatty is nowhere to be seen. Maybe Justin has already found him? With no way to get in contact with Justin, Zack is hoping for the best. You better be out there somewhere. Be smart, Fatty. Worrying about that now is useless, especially with more pressing matters at hand. There is increased commotion on the east side, with more footsteps quickly approaching. 4 of them. 4 men, to be precise. On the east side, the regular footsteps are intermingled with the nasty sound of heavy, sickly footsteps. There must be around 3 of those things. The wall is also being hit with a metal object, most likely some sort of steel rod or knife. I think it could be worse, but really not by a whole lot. They're here. Zack and his newly found companion clench their fists in anticipation. The tension reaches new heights. They really are still human. Zack feels a lot better about his decision and himself. The sound of bodies tackling the door rings out from both sides at the same time, but Zack knows the situation on the other side is under control. The door on the west side has been fully blocked. The door on the west side hasn't been fully blocked. Instead, they deliberately left just enough space for the intruders to break through. He has already pulled the fuse on the smoke bomb. In just 2 minutes, everything will start filling up with smoke, causing a big enough commotion to enable an escape from the building. The alerted enemies have to be cleared. The activated smoke bomb has to be protected at all costs. It's a pretty bold plan, and in order to get everyone out of here safely, Zack has to win a lot of time and delay the enemies. It won't be easy. Zack and the people trapped with him, who are in good physical condition, hide in a small corner of the room next to the west entrance. It's a strategy he picked up in street fights. There are always spots where the enemy will look last when rushing into a room while fueled with adrenaline. To break the line of sight and attack from the back is an unexpected moment. That's Zack's plan. Many of the people he woke up have completely exhausted themselves already, leaving Zack with just 2 companions who still have enough energy to fight. Oh boy, okay. Let's see, this is weird that now I have to plan out like this invasion, like a strategy game all of a sudden. This game has like a lot of stuff going on. Every forceful push and knock against the door makes it clear to Zack how much stronger the enemies are physically. This isn't a fair fight, and one that can only be won by employing cheap and dirty tricks. Good thing he knows a thing or two about that. He would have liked to be better prepared, but things are the way they are. They'll have to make do with what they've got. Just as Zack expected, the blockage gives way under repeated impacts. The door slams open violently. One of the cabinets flies through the air with such force that it almost hits Zack, who is lying in wait for an ambush. He takes a good look at the enemies, even though deep down in his heart he's afraid of what he might see. They seem to have evolved even further. They are not like the ones who helped him. They're ugly, twisted, primitive, and exuding a vile aura of evil beyond anything words can describe. 4 of them rush into the room. Only one of them is about the same size as Zack. The others are much smaller, stronger, and can barely be considered human anymore. In an open fight, Zack and his 2 remaining companions would most likely draw the short straw. Still, Zack keeps a clear head and reminds himself of his objective. He firmly plants his feet on the ground and pounces forward to attack. Attack the smallest opponent. Attack the opponent last in line. Attack only the human. Attack the opponent last in line. This is a golden opportunity and one that shouldn't be missed. To make the most out of this sneak attack, he should go for the opponent he's most likely to hit. Zack swings a makeshift iron crowbar made from one of the IV racks at the back of the creature's head. The swing doesn't connect. The creature seems startled by the attack that missed nearly by a few inches. He shifts his shoulders and knocks away Zack's right hand. Go to hell! Immediately following Zack's attack, the two companions go on the offensive as well. They rush towards the tallest and largest enemy in an attempt to keep the group at bay. The attack is a success. Although the large creature manages to shake off one of Zack's companions, the combined force of their attack causes the creature to lose its footing. Zack's other companions instantly see an opening and takes advantage of the situation. The two heavy bodies fall to the ground with a loud thud and twist up into a ball, violently entangled in the fight. After being taken by surprise, the enemies are now more focused and aware. The battle is far from over. The enemies have analyzed the situation, and the tide is turning against Zack. Oh gosh, did I make the right decision? I have no idea. The enemies are on high alert and more agile than expected. Zack is unsure if he can move around them and escape their watchful eyes. Oh shit, it's you! The other enemies have collected themselves and gotten back up. Jeremy and Zack both exclaim at the exact same moment upon realizing who is standing in front of them. It's not really a surprise. Zack has already been expecting this deep down. If anything, this only serves as final confirmation. Jeremy seems furious. His whole face is contorted by his angry expression as he spits on the ground. Ooh. Just a fool who won't learn his lesson. What the hell are you doing here? Take a wild guess, idiot. Screw you. There's no time for nonsense. Three enemies have sneakily split off from the group and are now surrounding Zack and his companions. With the brawl on the ground still going, it's 3 against 2 at the moment. Zack bites his lip and tries to think about his next move. He has to find a way out of the corner, but first he has to deal with the current onslaught of enemies. Accompanied by 2 accomplices, Jeremy seems intent on making it as hard as possible for Zack. One of the creatures stands right by his side, its empty, cold eyes staring dead ahead at Zack. Another opponent tries to intervene in the tussle on the ground, but Zack's other companion steps in and does his best to hold the line. So, this is what it's come to. The current stalemate won't hold for long, so Zack doesn't have a lot of time to plan and prepare. At last, he decides to... what the heck? So B is in the back. We defend against the large monster. I don't think that'll work out. We're gonna have to make... We have to make forward progress no matter what. defend against small monster. It's possible that the enemy is just feigning an attack. Zach turns his body sideways towards the smallest monster, anticipating its attacks and looking for possible counter opportunities. The enemies are moving quickly. Focusing on their strength in numbers, Jeremy and one of his accomplices are swiftly moving towards Zach, trying to corner him. A punch. It all happens in the blink of an eye. Zach barely registers the faint shadow moving at high speed. With his attention fully focused elsewhere, Zach is unable to evade Jeremy's attack. Pain runs through Zach's whole body. A punch. Zach is convinced that he can hear bones breaking. The relentless, ferocious beating almost forces Zach to his knees. It's only through physical strength and determination that he remains standing, but his vision is blurry and he feels dizzy. This is terrible. The small monster is caught in a fighting frenzy, unfocused on where it's aiming and swinging wildly. Hang on just a minute, my light's going crazy. What a hilarious time for it to go into automatic strobe mode. The small monster is caught in a fighting frenzy, unfocused on where it's aiming and swinging wildly. What are you looking at? Sensing Zach's lack of power, Jeremy takes full advantage of the situation and tackles him into the wall. Despite having about the same level of physical strength, Zach is taken by surprise and overcome by the sheer ruthlessness of his enemy's attack. Jeremy holds Zach up against the wall with an iron grip, grabbing him by the neck and shoulders. Zach is unable to move, and the few punches and kicks he manages to throw aren't enough to make Jeremy loosen his grip. However, Jeremy is so focused on his vicious attacks that he doesn't even realize he's standing in the way. Zach's strong companion dodges the monster's attack by stepping back while throwing a punch at the same time. The punch itself doesn't cause a lot of damage, but its impact is enough to make the monster topple, allowing Zach's companion to reel back and position himself on top of the enemy. Because of the differences in size, the monster is unable to free itself. Through smart positioning and by using every available opportunity, the weaker side in this fight is still able to pin down the otherwise stronger one. It's a fierce struggle, and there's no telling just how long it'll take before things might suddenly switch around. The monster thrashes around violently and hits the floor repeatedly. There's another fight going on where two bodies are still rolling around on the floor, each of them trying to gain the upper hand. Zach's young companion tries to choke the taller monster, but is grabbed by the wrist. Neither one wants to show weakness and admit defeat. A little over 40 seconds have passed. The struggle continues, and the group brawl rages on. Zach is worried, for he knows exactly that as soon as there's a shift in the power struggle, and an opening is created, the rest of the fight will be over in a matter of seconds. The enemy is overwhelmed by the attacks, which are fueled by the taste of a possible victory. It can't keep up the resistance for long. Unable to catch a breath, its defense crumbles. At least that vicious battle has been decided. Zach's companion barely manages to stand back up and is breathing heavily, while the monster is lying on the ground, unconsciously foaming around the mouth. Zach's companion is bloodied and bruised, but one of the enemies goes down for good. Zach observes how the small monster takes several steps back, distancing itself from the messy group brawl. This is bad. It hurts a lot. The opponent uses an opening to his advantage and flexes its bulging muscles. As a consequence of a swift, hard kick, Zach's companion is unable to restrain the monster any longer, as he is pushed away. The large monster gets up and catches its breath. There's an opportunity for it to get a few punches in, but still too exhausted from the previous struggle. The numbers aren't on Zach's side any longer. He has to avoid any further defeats if he wants to have a realistic chance at getting through this. Zach grinds his teeth, clenches his fists, and rocks his body back and forth with all the momentum he can gather. Jeremy can't react in time to this unexpected, almost self-destructive behavior and plunges his fist directly into the hard wall. Going on the offensive works out very well. Zach instantly seizes the opportunity and pushes his arms forward, thrusting Jeremy's hands aside. He firmly plants his feet on the wall, then launches himself at Jeremy with as much force as he can gather. As far as spatial awareness and actual fighting experience are concerned, Zack still has the upper hand. Jeremy jumps back to avoid Zack's powerful leap, which causes the two to switch positions. It's 3 versus 3. One minute has passed. Although the numbers have evened out, the situation still isn't looking too good. The good news is that the most powerful enemy is down, taking one of the biggest risks factors out of the equation. Zack's ambush has been successful so far. Intelligently maintaining control over the enemies and their position is of the utmost importance, especially when there's an obvious difference in strength. Both sides take a moment to regroup. Everybody's hurt, panting and checking themselves for injuries, with a fierce fire still burning in everyone's eyes. In a movie, this scene would have probably looked funny, but there's nothing to laugh about for anybody involved in this mess of a fight. Zack knows he can't expect to suddenly back down. He might be a poor judge of character when it comes to social interactions, but in the fight he's really good at knowing what's going through his opponent's minds. They've lost their strongest fighter, even though they had the upper hand. Jeremy's got to be nervous, but at the same time he probably knows that it's impossible for Zack's team to have another ambush lying in wait. All the cards are on the table now. Zack can only hope for the best. They commence another attack. Having changed positions, Jeremy is no longer going for Zack, but heads for Zack's younger companion instead, who is severely exhausted from his previous fight. The other two enemies step in to keep their eyes on Zack. One of them goes straight for Zack, while the other seems to focus on the weapon Zack is holding in his right hand. Zack decides to... Jeez. Let's defend against the small monster. Zack moves his body sideways while facing the small monster, protecting his body's right half with his left hand, while simultaneously pulling back his right one, waiting for an opportunity to strike with his weapon. The small monster suddenly starts making strange noises and disappears off to the side, seemingly unsure of what it actually wants to do. Jeremy pulls out a short, shiny weapon. At first glance, it looks like a spring knife. A knife like that is particularly dangerous in close-quarter fights, where its short range isn't an issue. It's still more than enough to cause vital injuries. Without saying a word, Jeremy steadily advances towards Zack, making his way through the crowd. Zack knows exactly what Jeremy is thinking. Go straight for the leader, take him out, and it'll all be over. Jeremy lifts his arm up in an arc to slash downwards with as much speed as he can. The knife plunges into his skin and is viciously thrust upwards. There are more effective ways of attacking with a knife other than slicing, but it's still more than enough to cause gnarly cuts. Zack manages to deflect Jeremy's attack by lifting up his arm. The price he pays is immediately obvious, as blood starts running down his forearm. His blood is a strange color, no longer bright red. Zack feels a little nauseous, but he can't waste time thinking about it. The two monsters are rapidly advancing and are already closing in on him. Zack twists and turns his body to go with the flow of the enemy's attack, adjusting his stance to counter. His enemy's too focused on one thing, disarming Zack. Unable to quickly adapt to the change in stance, it misses Zack and runs past him. The other opponent is much less focused, with no clear plan, only intent on causing damage by whatever means available. It uses its height to its advantage and smashes its fist down from above, scraping Zack's ear. Zack's strong companion wants to run up to help, but slips and falls in the process. Zack's shoulders are struck, pushing him down and twisting his body around. Zack's whole body feels numb and he's completely weightless for a second. If the angle had been just a little different, Zack's neck would have been snapped, and his head would have been rammed straight into his chest. The force of the impact is too strong, and Zack can't hold onto his weapon. It's flung through the air and rolls off to the side. Jeremy clearly seems to have lost in his confrontation with Zack's companion. He dropped his spring knife, which was kicked aside during the fight, which means Jeremy is now unarmed. Oh, hell no! Jeremy is enraged and yells to vent his frustration. As he attempts to retrieve the knife, Zack's companion steps in and blocks his path. With the opponent standing right in front of him, Zack knows it's impossible for him to retrieve his weapon without exposing his back in the process, a mistake he'd rather not make. He assumes a defensive stance and retreats to a more open space in an attempt not to get cornered. The situation is growing more tense by the second, and both parties are being more careful in their approach. One wrong, rash decision could mean a sudden end to all of this. It's not over yet, and the situation is still delicate. What's your angle here, huh? What are you trying to pull, Zach? Jeremy is shouting, his head bright red, both from blood and from his temper rising up. Keeping the enemy talking is the right play at this point. There are no more advantages and no more opportunities for an ambush. With the fight being as out in the open as it is, it's best to delay as long as possible and hope the smoke goes off. Jack tries to guess how much longer it'll take. A minute, maybe? He then decides to stall them as long as possible. Idiot, you really think I'd tell you? Jeez, you really haven't changed. You really haven't had enough yet. Jeez, you really haven't had enough yet? And here I was hoping that beatdown was enough to make you eat those smug words of yours. All this trouble, I'm just trying to make it easy for you. But don't think for 1 second I'm the least bit afraid of the cops showing up here, or anyone else for that matter. Is that so? Then how about you introduce them to your ugly fish buddies here? Sounds like a nice chance for some exposure. You might even make the newspapers. You really didn't call them, did you? How about you take a wild guess? Shit! More proof that Jeremy is still the same small-minded idiot he's always been. Zach can't help but smirk a little as he watches Jeremy spew a tirade of cusses. It's a rough world. You can't let things get to you. Zach knows that by now. He's gotten under Jeremy's skin, giving him the psychological edge in this fight, at the very least. While being angry would make Jeremy more likely to make foolish decisions, it would also make him a more unpredictable opponent. Is it smart to get him this worked up? As it turns out, it's not. You really think you could scare me? He lifts up his jacket slightly and pulls out a small black object with trembling fingers. Another knife, maybe? Zach squints and tries to make out the object, which is obscured by the dim light. Cold sweat runs down Zach's body. What the hell are you do? A gun? Zach's instincts kick in, though for a second it feels as if his heart stands still. He leaps and rolls, trying to get to cover and out of Jeremy's sight. Driven by a primal survivalistic urge, he pulls off a jump and most people would think was impossible. This is the first time he's ever seen a gun in real life. Say what you will about the city's law enforcement, but at least they're doing a good enough job to keep guns out of the hands of juvenile thugs. He has no idea how to deal with the situation, which is why that small and deadly weapon is putting him under extreme pressure right now. By diving for cover and moving out of the way, Zach has unintentionally opened up the way to his two companions, fully exposing them. The two enemy monsters sense this opportunity and barge straight into them. Help! Let's go! Assess the situation. Shit, damn it! Zach growls and cusses in frustration, not at Jeremy or anyone else, but himself for putting everyone in danger. How about that, huh? Where's that loudmouth of yours now? Jeremy's provocations echo through the room. Carefully taking a look, Zach can see Jeremy clumsily loading the gun. From the looks of it, Jeremy doesn't have a lot of experience with firearms either. Up until now, the gun must have been empty, which would explain why Jeremy hasn't let off a single shot yet. Zach would never have expected anyone from his circle to be carrying a firearm. The risk and punishments are immense, and Jeremy might only have gotten his hands on it recently. Maybe he's reluctant to use it, seeing as there are all kinds of news reports of people badly hurting themselves through accidental discharges and improper handling. And honestly, Jeremy kind of fits the description of those people. The fact remains that this small but deadly weapon is now pointed at Zach and his two companions, and could easily take life within the blink of an eye. The situation is unbelievably dangerous. There's no doubt about it. He's definitely going to shoot. The atrocities committed in this building are already horrible enough to land everyone involved in jail forever. Maybe that's what Jeremy is telling himself. One additional gun charge isn't going to make any difference. He's probably scared of the thought and panicking, and now he's directing all that fear at Zach through his gun. The small monster presses all its weight down on Zach's strong companion and starts choking him. The enemy clearly has the upper hand. Zach's strong companion thrashes around and aims for the enemy's arms to break the chokehold. Zach's young companion can't stand his ground, but only temporarily. The numbers are even for now, but overall it's nowhere close to being an even playing field. Zach grits his teeth in an attempt to maintain his composure and focus. Something has to be done right away, otherwise they're doomed. Justin is a smart guy who thinks ahead, so he might have already escaped the building. At least that's what Zach hopes. Either way, Zach has to make a decision, and he has to make it now. Save the strong companion, save the young companion, charge towards Jeremy, maintain cover. It can't be that much longer before the gas goes off, so let's maintain cover. Zach lifts up the hospital bed and positions it in front of himself. But with such a thin mattress, the bed isn't exactly the most optimal form of cover. Zach's plan is to avoid giving Jeremy a clear line of sight. With only a limited amount of bullets, Jeremy will have to pick his shots carefully. As long as Zach remains hidden, he should be fairly safe. But as it turns out, Jeremy is a lot dumber than Zach gave him credit for. 3 shots ring through the air, but none of them hit Zach. Either the bed offers more protection than Zach assumed, or he's just in the right position at the right time. One bullet whizzes past Zach, so close that it barely misses his forehead. If he needed any more proof that Jeremy is dead serious, this would be it. Right now, the situation is a stalemate. What's the matter, huh? Just come on out! 3 shots fired so far. Jeremy isn't out of bullets yet. Zach ducks down behind the bed and grips the railing so tightly that he almost scratches the paint off it. Zach grabs a nearby pillow and slowly props it up so that it can easily be seen. Within seconds, the pillow has 2 gaping holes. Another 4 bullets, all of them way too close for comfort. What's the matter, tough guy? Just admit that you're done and step out. Don't waste your breath on me. Make a move or don't. It's your choice. Playing the badass until your very last moments, are you? Well then, you put this on yourself, so don't blame me. Go on then, bring it. Zach waits, but no further shots hit the bed. Zach begins to tremble as he realizes what's happening. Hey! Jeremy fires directly at Zach's immobilized companion. Throughout all this, Zach still could have never imagined that Jeremy would stoop so low. Even with a body much stronger than an average human's, it would be impossible to withstand shots at such close range. Zach's companion hits the ground, twitching, and after a few painful seconds stops moving altogether. Shit, get up! There's no response. Zach realizes how attached he has grown to these people in such a short time. They're in this together, fighting the same fight. Zach never, even for 1 second, regrets having helped them. This makes seeing things play out this way even more horrible for him. Fear and anger wash over him to an almost paralyzing degree. That was too easy. How boring. Jeremy kicks the corpse at his feet with no change of expression. While he himself is frozen on the spot, Zach can hear Jeremy's footsteps. He's walking towards Zach's remaining companion. 7 shots fired in total. It's difficult to tell whether or not Jeremy has run out of bullets or not. He has stopped fiddling with his gun, but it could be just a ploy to draw Zach out. Making a move now would mean risking his life, but if he doesn't, Zach will be responsible for the death of another one of his companions. A million voices rage in Zach's mind like a storm, overlapping one another. All of them are telling him different things, offering contradictory advice. Impulsive and reckless, he never quite understood what people meant when they talked about a dilemma, and now he understands. Huh? It all happened before anyone has a chance to react. Shit! What the hell? Smoke. Fire? No, it most certainly isn't a fire. Caught in the moment and immersed in the heat of battle, Zach lost track of time and completely forgot about what he actually came here to do. After 2 excruciatingly long minutes, the chemical reaction is now in full effect and the smoke is starting to develop. Upon witnessing how fast the smoke is spreading, Zach only now starts to realize how vitally important Neko's advice on treating the smoke bombs carefully has been. At this rate, it's not that different from an actual explosion. It's done. After this hellish 2-minute journey, it's time to cross the finish line. Smoke is filling up the whole room faster than the eye can see. At this rate, somebody from outside must have already seen it, and Zach wonders how long it will take them to alert the fire department. But right now, things happening outside are of no concern to him. Go! Check out! What's going on? Jeremy waves his arms and orders his 2 helpers to find out what's going on. Zach's young companion tries to use the situation to crawl to safety and get up, but Jeremy holds him at gunpoint. This is it, an opportunity. With more smoke building up by the second, Zach leaves his cover and quietly circles around towards Jeremy while holding his breath. You're done. There's a hard impact. Zach puts everything he has into a fully powered punch directed at the back of Jeremy's head. Jeremy must have sensed something at the very last second. He turns his head to the side, causing Zach to hit him in the neck instead. The impact stuns Jeremy despite him having deflected it a little bit. Zach's young companion immediately analyzes the situation. He pushes Jeremy away and crawls towards the area where the smoke bomb is, attempting to stop Jeremy's 2 monstrous henchmen. That's all you got? Jeremy is still hurling insults at Zach even as he's brought down to one knee, fully intent on breaking Zach's spirit once and for all. Jeremy turns and aims at Zach's young companion in the distance, who's still crawling away. Zach is still unarmed and is too far away to react in time. He can't stop Jeremy from firing. Jeremy only has enough time to fire a single shot. It's only one shot, but that doesn't mean it can't cause devastating damage. A fine mist of blood is floating through the air around Zach's young companion, who was just a few steps short of reaching his goal. No! Losing all semblance of self-control, an enraged Zach pushes Jeremy and delivers a furious right hook to the jaw. This time, Jeremy has no time to dodge. The blow to Jeremy's jaw is so vicious it almost feels as if it's going to pierce right through him. Zach can feel the strength draining from Jeremy's body as it drops to the ground. He got just what he deserved. The impact from Zach's hook is enough for his eyes to roll in the back of his head. Unable to handle the pain, he passes out. Strange grunting sounds are coming from the two monsters as they notice what's happening to Jeremy. They stop their search for the smoke bomb and make their way towards Zach. The monster ignores the flipped over beds and torn sheets as it makes its way through all the obstacles. Things are looking pretty grim for Zach right now. There's not a whole lot of distance between him and the two monsters. Even with all the scattered furniture and debris in the way, it wouldn't take them more than 10 seconds to maneuver around the obstacles and reach him. Hoping for the best, Zach pulls the pistol out of Jeremy's hand. Looking at it, he realizes it must have some sort of extended magazine. He puts his finger on the trigger and prays that the gun doesn't fail him. Die! Stop! Zach's first shot is aimed at the monster's stomach. 2 more shots follow instantly. Zach's target is so close that it's pretty much impossible for him to miss. For the first time ever, Zach experiences what it feels like to take a life. The monster's heavy body fumbles forward. A big pile of flesh and muscle that slumps over him presses up against Zach. Getting it off him feels like pushing away a bag of cement. The second attacker follows, giving Zach no chance to catch his breath. It tears away the bedsheets its feet are entangled in and throws itself at Zach's chest with relentless speed. Ugh. Zach receives a vicious kick to the stomach. For a moment, Zach doesn't understand why so many images and lights are flashing by. He then realizes he's flying through the air at high speeds. The kick has catapulted him through the door, sending him flying into the dark hallway. The accumulated damage Zach has suffered becomes too much to bear. A sharp pain in his back, running down his whole spine, is almost enough to make him pass out. It's only a question of time, really. He reaches his breaking point. Too much has been demanded of his body, and he's already been pushing his limits far too long. Fighting spirit won't help if the heart doesn't play along anymore. His eyelids are growing heavy, and his senses dull as the strangely cool smoke fills his lungs. His enemy is seemingly unfazed by all this. Grrr. No matter how hard he tries, Zach can't move or even just lift his arms to protect himself. This is the end of the road for him. It is what it is, he thinks to himself. A strange feeling of comforting relief fills him as he comes to terms with the situation, blaming only himself for having acted recklessly. At the very last moment, an image flashes in his mind, a face he hasn't seen all night. Only it's real. A large muscle-bound frame steps over Zach's body and blocks the monster in his tracks. It takes a monster to fight a monster. Fatty? No response other than a small, reaffirming nod. Planting his feet firmly on the ground, Fatty pushes the monster away from Zach, inch by inch. Fatty seems to have grown even stronger since Zach last saw him. Zach has trouble thinking, but he can't help but notice the intense aura of strength around Fatty. Who are you? The difference in sheer power is so big that the difference in height doesn't seem to be a factor at all. Though the enemy monster seems more hateful and driven, that's not enough to make up for its weaknesses. Standing his ground firmly, Fatty keeps pushing the monster back inside the room at an even pace. Unwilling to accept the situation and not knowing what else to do, the monster pushes its right foot hard into the ground and throws up its knee, aiming straight at Fatty's stomach. With both his arms and legs busy, there's no chance for Fatty to dodge or block the attack. It hits him, but he doesn't even make a sound. Zach can see Fatty's body shaking as if a shockwave is running through it, but other than that, he doesn't show any reaction at all. Still feeling dizzy, Zach only now realizes that what his friend plans on doing. Don't! His injury robs him of his voice. Through continuous pushing and shoving, the 2 large frames are slowly swallowed up by the thick smoke, disappearing within it. Thank you, Zach. After that, there's a series of heavy blows and crashes and... Fatty! Zach opens his mouth. He wants to scream, wants to shout, but he can't. A stream of tears is blurring Zach's vision. He can hear footsteps approaching in the distance, but he has neither the will nor the strength to react. Damn, what's this? That voice. It sounds familiar. Zach lifts his head, but he can't see anything. There's next to no oxygen going to his brain, and he's mere seconds away from losing consciousness altogether. This is bad. What have you been doing? Come on, let's get you out of here. All right, boy, you have a lot to read. But why don't we stop it there, since the majority of the battle is over. This is audapostrophe, and you've been watching Hermitage, Strange Case Files on Nintendo Switch. Boy, this game has gotten real exciting. I really didn't expect it to be like a big brawl, and I don't even think we're even halfway done with this visual novel. So yeah, I've got a lot to look forward to. Started off slow, but I think it's finally finding its paces, and we're getting a lot more of the action and mystery that I was hoping that we'd get. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.